Hello and welcome to Real-Time Signals. Today we are going to discuss about kernel. So what is kernel? Kernel is core part of operating system. It manages all the important resources and it is responsible for scheduling the tasks and the other operations in kernel. So there are two spaces mainly in an operating system, user space and kernel space. There are two types of kernel. One is monolithic kernel, another one is microlithic kernel. Monolithic kernel has got kernel space and user space as usual, but most of the subsystems are sitting in kernel space like file system, interprocess communication, IO space, and interprocess communication. Monolithic kernel has got a single large process because most of the operations are sitting in your kernel space. So single address space, a single static binary file is enough. Here it's quite simple. Most of the operations what you require are accessible in your kernel space. So you can do a simple application. You can call them directly from your kernel space because most of the operations are happening in kernel space. Example is Linux. The second one is microkernel. Here in microkernel there are two partitions again, but in kernel space subsystems are like the interprocess communication, IO space management, they are happening in kernel space. File system, device drivers, process servers are happening in your user space. So you can clearly see there are two partitions, a bigger partition. Now in microkernel, kernel is broken into separate process. Now these are called as servers. Some of the servers they run in kernel space and some of them in user space. Because they are servers, you can think of a security system which has got certain access, certain security to access kernel space from your user space. So the servers which are running in user space, they need to have special security or passwords to access the kernel space.